Envision has a free app for both Android and iOS, and they also offer the Envision Glasses. This helps people who are blind and visually impaired with things like text recognition, facial recognition, product recognition, and a lot more. Let's talk about it. Hey everyone, it's Carrie on Accessibility, and welcome to another episode of the Epic Ally podcast, where we deep dive into the world of accessibility and technology. Today we're going to be talking about Envision, and I'll be talking to the CTO, Karthik Kannan. I think that's how you say his name. We'll be discussing the Envision Glasses, some new updates, AI, of course, there's got to be some AI, a little bit about their app and how they even started this journey and where they are heading towards. As a reminder, I discuss different products, services, apps, and have interviews with different companies, but unless I specifically mention it, it is not a recommendation or an endorsement. So with that said, let's move on to the interview, and I will meet you on the other side with my thoughts. Thank you for joining me today, Karthik. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do?
Hi, so my name is Karthik Kannan, and I am one of the founders and the CTO at Envision. I'm just, on a daily basis, my job is really the most fun job in the world, which is thinking about how we can take all the advances in AI and see how we can apply it to people who are blind and low vision so that they can live more independently. That's the job in a nutshell. I've been part of Envision from day one, like since the time we began as a two-person team with me and my co-founder Karthik Mahadevan, and we're here roughly 7 years down the line.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about what Envision does, what products you have in case there's some people that are new to Envision.
Sure. So Envision primarily builds the Envision Glasses, which is a pair of smart glasses that help a blind or low vision person to do different tasks more independently. Some things like being able to read text or recognize faces, objects, and so much more. Right. So with a pair of Envision glasses, you could be at a restaurant and you can wear those glasses and then sit down to read a menu and then scan a menu with it and ask it questions about, maybe if you're someone who's vegan and you want to know about the vegan appetizers in the menu, you could use the Envision glasses to scan a menu and ask a question. Or let's say you're outside and you want to read what's on a shop sign, or you want to read what's on a product label. You could use the Envision glasses to do that. Similarly, you can use it to also get very detailed descriptions of what's around you, and even ask questions of the descriptions that you get. So you could take a picture of, say, your outfit, and then you could say, "Hey, maybe could you suggest other colors that could go well with my top?" For example, right? So those are questions that you can have a back and forth conversation with Envision about. And apart from that, you can use it to recognize faces. And we all know that AI has like limitations. It's not like something that works well in every circumstances. So you can also go ahead and use it to make a video call directly to a friend or a family member. So instead of you having to call a stranger, you could basically get help from a friend or a family member, and they can step in. And since your hands are free, you're wearing glasses, and your hands are free to to point at things or to pick up stuff. They can easily help you with a variety of tasks. And people use it, for example, when they need help with cooking, or when they need to pick the right outfit for a date, or they're outside and they want to get a sense of where they are. They can use call an companion feature to do that. And we also have integrations with Ira. So you can even make Ira calls. So this is for people who are in the US, in the UK, Australia, other English-speaking countries where Ira is really popular. You could basically use the Envision glasses to call an Ira agent as well. And we have an integration with Beam Eyes in the works.
Okay, that's a lot to unpack. But before we actually dive deeper into the glasses a little bit more, I know there are some new updates with the Envision glasses. Could you share what those are and what are some of the exciting new things that we can do?
I think the biggest update is just, this feature called Ask Envision on the Envision glasses. This is a feature that has been around for a little while. but we recently made an update to it, which, in my opinion, makes it almost like a personal assistant that you could wear on your face, right? So with the Envision glasses and the Ask Envision feature, you can go ahead and have a seamless back and forth conversation with with your glasses. So let's say you're outside and you want to, like, you're looking at a particular product, right? You could basically go ahead and say, hey, can you just tell me what's on the product, or what the product label says? And then the glasses will go ahead and say it out to you. And then you could say, maybe could you help me find other products that have a similar nutritional value, or other products? And then it'll ask you, hey, okay, can you take a picture of the aisle that you're at? And then you take a picture of the aisle, and maybe it suggests products that are similar to what you're holding. Or let's say you're reading a book, right? You'd scan a book, and then you could go ahead and ask it questions about the book. Let's say you're reading a book about a specific country. You could maybe go ahead and deep dive and ask questions about maybe the languages they speak in the country, or some such, some such fact that about the work you're reading, right? Or even ask you to help it translate it into different languages. Or let's say you're reading something in a totally different language, you could ask it to translate it to another language that you speak. So the whole idea that we have with Ask Envision right now is to build a conversational, assistant that's on your face, that basically allows you to have a to and fro conversation without having to go into specific features, or ask it, like, or ask it to open like specific features and then try to like recognize something for you, right? And this is a huge departure from traditionally the way we have been using computers. Because traditionally, when you sit in front of a computer, you have a menu, and you want to get to some place, you click through a menu, and then sometimes these menus don't tend to be accessible. And either ways, to get a task done from a computer, you had to kind of learn how to speak its language, and then to really click on a button and learn how the interface, looks like. And if some, over enthusiastic designer decides to change the menu overnight, you have to learn all of that stuff again. And for the first time, we've now having computers being able to speak our language, right? Instead of us learning to speak their language. And then it's so much more easier to get stuff done. And that is what we have brought on to the Envision glasses. And this is available for anyone who purchases the Envision glasses today. It's not some far off, sci-fi dream that companies promise you 6 months down the line, later this year, and stuff like that. It's there today for anyone who owns a pair of Envision glasses.
Mm. Okay, so it's very similar to a lot of the AI kind of chat bots that we have available now. Could you share what model you're using? Are you using ChatGPT or Gemini or some other one?
We're using our own model. The reason being, a lot of um, I would say there are three or four main problems. I would say, if you're using a ChatGPT or a Gemini or any of these other, proprietary models, right? The
Mm-hmm.
first problem is that you don't know where your data is going and how it's being used, right? So a lot of people who simply integrate ChatGPT into the product don't really know exactly what's happening to the data or the images that they share with these models. Whereas with Envision, we are 100% GDPR compliant. We know what exactly goes through our models, because we have our own models that we have been able to build and fine tune and use in our products over the years, right? I think the second factor is, at some point, these chatbots or AI assistants, they it's not a very economical proposition for the people who are offering a free service right now. Someday, they might be getting credits to run these services, or they might be paying it out of their pocket. But some days the economics won't will stop making sense for them. Whereas I think with someone like Envision, today we're offering, ChatGPT style descriptions to over 500,000 people who use the Envision app, right? And that is possible for us, and while keeping the whole thing free. And that's possible for us to do, again, because we use our own models, that allows us to, that allows us to, like, deploy them more cheaper than what our competitors are able to do, because we're not really beholden to a big company where we're paying them, and at some point we're going to run out of, we'll have to worry about running out of credits, right? I think the third thing is that a lot of these proprietary models, the data that they have been trained on, usually data that is there on the internet, right? And that is very, very different from the kind of data that a blind or a low vision. Let me give you a specific example of pictures, right? So a lot of these, bots, they're all trained on images on the internet, which are mostly taken by sighted people, right? And when you have images that are taken by sighted people, usually, the images are kind of like lit, and the object that they're trying to like recognize or capture is in the middle of the frame, and all of those things, right? But the truth of the matter is, a lot of blind and low vision people, they take images in a much more different way. Sometimes the image is skewed, sometimes the images are blurred, the
Don't I
lighting
know
isn't
that?
always right. Yeah,
Mhm.
right. So with our models, you always, and over the years, we've built this expertise in how blind people actually take pictures, right? And that is reflected in the quality of our models, right? And when someone uses our model versus what they use in like a ChatGPT or a Gemini or a Claude, the difference is quite stark, right? So of course, we do use some proprietary models in our workflow wherever they make sense. But all the features that I spoke to you about are largely driven by Envision's own models. That we know exactly what's going through them, and we have like full control over what they say and what they don't say,
Mm.
and so on. Yeah.
Okay. I know about a year ago, there was a demo video from Envision with the Envision glasses, and I thought that ChatGPT 3.5 was mentioned. So it's really interesting that you're creating your own model. I wonder why, if that's a possibility, why more companies don't do that. How does one kind of go about like creating their own AI model, like in a very general sense?
Sure. I think it's two things, right? It's data and expertise. So the data part is why a lot of companies don't go ahead and build their own models. We've been in this space for like 7+ years, 8 years almost. It's been a long time since we started the company, and we've been doing this over and over, year on year, since the beginning with the Envision app. I've always believed that when we first started out with Envision, AI was in its infancy. That's what I've always believed. And what I always knew was that, any AI that's going to come in the future will always need to have a lot of data, a lot of examples to understand and learn, better. Right. So we started building, from consenting users, from our beta testers who choose to, who opt in to share data with us. We've always anonymized that data, and then, over time, built a corpus of image data that people have taken and we've cleaned, and we've gone through that painstaking process of just collecting and cleaning and refining the data set, and then always building our own models using that data, right? So we've had accumulated that for like all these years. And the second point is, because this is what we do day in and day out, and we have blind or low vision people in the team. We have a huge collection of like of users. We've just built an expertise in this area so much that the two of them just come together, and then we can build our own models easily right now. Right? It's still a lot of work. We still get a lot of things wrong. We still go down dead ends. We have false starts. We make mistakes. But because we've had the expertise, and we've had the know-how on how to build these type of models over the years, we've been able to do that. I think a lot of
Mm.
companies that are in the space right now, they're just taking like an API, and then they're putting it into their product, and they're saying, oh, our AI, is now, our app is more intelligent because it's got this chatbot, and so on. But in reality, when people use Envision versus other products in the market, they always notice the difference. Because I mean, I know this is going to sound very salesy, but I'd like to say, and I genuinely believe this, that we actually care, um, and that's the big difference between what Envision's trying to do and what other companies, even bigger companies, do. Yeah, we're not trying to tick off like a marketing checkbox or a PR checkbox. I think this is our bread and butter, so we're quite serious about it.
I see. Now, did you have an Envision glasses next to you that you could maybe briefly show?
Oh. I don't have a pair of
Oh,
Envision
okay.
glasses with me.
That's
Uh,
totally fine. That's fine.
Yeah,
That's
but
fine.
I can describe it,
Okay,
for the
sure.
listeners. So I think Envision glasses primarily look like any other pair of glasses. They're about 50 grams. I really don't know what the ounce conversion is, so don't really hold me to that. But it's about 50 grams, 50 to 60 grams, and that's about the weight of an average pair of sunglasses. Maybe a little bit more heavier, maybe like 5-10 grams more heavier. Uh, it's designed to be worn on your face all day, so it's quite light. It's evenly balanced. And on the right hand side of the Envision glasses, you have a camera, right, which, though located on the right hand side, it points towards the center. It's got a wide field of view, so it's able to capture much more than your regular smartphone camera, sorry. You could think of it like the point 0.5 camera on your iPhone, right? So that's how wide the field of view is, right? And it's able to record HD video as well. And located right next to the camera is basically on next to your right temple is where the touchpad is, and this is a multi-track touchpad, trackpad where you can basically use multiple fingers and all the gestures that you're used to in your voiceover or talkback are mapped directly one-on-one to these glasses, right? And located right next to your right ear is a speaker. And that is where the audio basically comes from on the glasses. And of course, you can go ahead and connect these glasses to an external headphones like your AirPods or your AfterShokz headphones, or you can even connect that to a speaker and have the audio output come from there.
Is
And there are
that
about
through Bluetooth?
that's through Bluetooth,
Okay.
correct, right? And there are about 3 microphones on the glasses. So they're these beam-forming microphones that you can talk to, and it also captures noise. It captures, your audio well, even in like noisy environments. And behind your right ear is where you have the battery and the processors located, and the glasses charge via USB-C charging. It's got Wi-Fi on it, so it doesn't have like a SIM card or an eSIM facility, but it's got like Wi-Fi on it, so you can connect it to the Wi-Fi on your house or to the hotspot on your phone if you have a hotspot plan. And with the glasses, you can get about 5 to 7 hours of battery life on a single usage. That is, you could just use it throughout the day. And it supports fast charging, which means that if you have, any one of these really cool, latest Samsung chargers or Pixel chargers, or even some of the Apple chargers that are coming out right now for like the iPhone 14 and above, they all support fast charging. So you can just like plug it into the glasses and then get it from 0 to 80% in about like 30 minutes or so. So it's a really versatile piece of hardware.
I want to go back to the battery. Is that a part of the glasses or is
Yeah.
that a separate battery pack?
It's part of the glasses. I think
Okay, okay.
the thing I like the most about the glasses is the fact that you can just like literally wear them and then leave your phone and stuff like that, and then go do things around your house. You wouldn't need to have a phone in your pocket, or you wouldn't have to connect these glasses to a phone through some kind of a you know um, a wire, or connected through some kind of a wireless connection or anything of that sort, right? I think we experimented a lot with such type of glasses in the past, but honestly speaking, none of them really worked for us, right? And even if they did, they only seem to work well for like Android, or within Android, they only worked on like specific phones.
Mm,
So people had to buy one of those high-end phones, and of course, most of the blind and low vision people, in most countries, have like an iPhone because it just works, really well with accessibility. So yeah, essentially, it's just a standalone computer on your face. It's like very sounds very science fiction. It is actually quite science fiction. Yeah.
Are you able to connect your phone audio to the glasses?
No, you cannot at the
Okay.
moment. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I know it's like, it's like one of those, I think Amazon had those glasses. I think the North glasses or something where you could connect the audio
Hmm.
to your phone, from your phone to your glasses, and then you could like hear music or notifications and stuff. But that's not the case with these.
Got it. So I've heard that the Envision glasses uses Google Glass. Is that right, or is that not true anymore?
That is true. Yes. So we do use the Google Glass second edition, which is a much more updated hardware than the first edition that came out like 11 years ago, 11, 12 years ago. Yeah.
When did the second edition come out?
It came out in 2019, and we actually met the guy who invented it when we were this year in Seattle. Yeah, he was like totally blown away that someone is using, I mean, his hardware after 11 long years. But yeah, it's a pretty neat piece of hardware.
Does Google still support the feature, or like still, I guess, sell these products? How are you still getting these glasses?
Oh, we have a little Santa inside Google that gives us these glasses. But more seriously speaking, so Google stopped selling these glasses directly to customers a few years ago, right? And in 2019, Google brought it back, and their main aim was to basically sell it to like companies like DHL or
Mm,
FedEx, right? Where their factory workers are going to be inside these giant warehouses scanning packages all day. And when we went and said, hey, we'd love to actually use Envision on your glasses, they were quite surprised and they let us do it. And in 2023, they announced that they're not going to be supporting this hardware anymore because they have other hardware that they're probably working on right now. But we've had a sizable chunk of inventory from Google that they gave over to us. And we've been using that inventory, and we plan to support that inventory far into the future because, as far as I'm concerned, we're still just scratching the surface of what these glasses are able to do. And just the number of features we pushed this year is we're just going to keep going with it as long as we can.
Since these did come out in 2019, and there's a lot of talk right now about AI chips and this and that for
Mm.
AI and new hardware for AI. How are you able to utilize so much AI on the Envision glasses with, you know, the Google Glass?
We spend a lot of time just thinking about this. Like I have these hardware chips in my dreams, to be really honest with you. We just spend so much time thinking about this stuff. And I think the reason is that, these chips are really powerful, right? And of course, the hardware manufacturers want to manufacture new glasses every year. So they kind of say, hey, you know what? We have a
Mm-hmm.
much better chip. We have a much better chip. And they try to keep pushing that onto consumers. But the reality of it is, in a given minute, in a given moment or a given year, most of the developers don't even use like 50% of what the chip is capable of, right? I think if you think about Apple, they introduced the M1 chip in 2021, and now they're at the M4 series that they're going to be
Mm-hmm.
launching this year. But to be very honest with you, developers have just barely started, scratching the surface of what an M1 is able to do right now, right? So if you own an M1 laptop, like how I do, like I'm still able to run the state of the art ML models, AI models on it. I'm still able to run all the games I want to run on it. And it's a really powerful piece of hardware. And that's the same thing that we have with the, 2019 Google Glass as well. And if you think about it, from 2019 till 2024, there haven't been that many smart glasses that have come out that are really that powerful. Of course, there are a few companies like Vuzix and all these guys, but then their software is very limited, right? On the other hand, we've got the Meta Quest and then the Ray-Ban glasses that everyone's going gaga over. But
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, though they also don't utilize a lot of their, onboard hardware, right? They just send all of your data over to Meta servers, and then, you can have a conversation with their AI or whatever. And you've got the Apple Vision Pro, which is like really, really powerful, but then it's so bulky that
It's
nobody in
huge.
their right minds, yeah, nobody in their right minds would actually want to wear it and walk outside.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about all these different options that exist, the Google Glass hardware still seems like the best option for us 5 years down the line, which is kind of crazy because Google's known to make products that kind of die within a year or two. But surprisingly, this
That's
has lasted for quite some time, you know?
Yes. I know that this is kind of looking into the future, but would you consider maybe updating the Envision glasses when and if maybe Google comes out with a new smart glasses?
Definitely. I think, a big part of what we're looking to do in the future is to make the Envision platform be available on as many different types of hardware as possible, right?
Mm.
And I think it goes back to why we started Envision as a company. And the main goal for us is to try and make AI as easily available to as many people who are blind and low vision and other vulnerable populations, right? Like the elderly or people with other types of disabilities as much as possible. And I think if we have to be true to that mission, we cannot forever be on the Google Glass alone. And when we do find interesting hardware partners to work with, we will definitely work with them. We are in talks with a few right now, but nothing that's really finalized, or nothing that we know concretely is going to be like the hardware that we will work with
Mhm.
next, right? Like I said, in terms of being a standalone device that doesn't require you to take out your phone every other minute or be connected to a phone for like your battery or processing needs, and something that you can wear on your face for like 5 to 8, 7 hours without wanting to throw it away after like 30 minutes. That's kind of rare, and that's what we have with our hardware right now.
Mm-hmm. See, I know you mentioned the Meta Ray Bans. I have a pair of them, but the
Mm.
biggest limitation with them for somebody who's blind or visually impaired, it doesn't actually give you the information that you want. There's a lot of limitations,
Mm.
like, oh, you want to know about the people around you. Oh, we can't. I'm
Yeah,
not allowed to
yeah,
talk about people. Oh, let me
yeah.
read this document. It refuses to read the document. It will summarize
I know.
it to you. Yep, yep, yep. So anyway, for the Google Glass, are you able to use the Google Glass software still, or is it just Envision?
It's all Envision, right?
Okay.
And
Hmm.
it's all Envision precisely for the reasons you mentioned, because, all of these models are proprietary models that, again, are not built really keeping blind and
Hmm.
low vision users in mind. They're built, for like the widest possible audience, imaginable. But being honest with you, like these pair of glasses, like you said, right? If you ask it to give you a description of the face or identify it for you, Envision will never refuse it, because we don't, we know that's something blind or low vision people need. And when people wear the Envision glasses, it's basically to identify people and stuff. Similarly, you want to read like, maybe a confidential piece of document, like maybe a bank statement, right? And there are two problems here. One, yes, these AIs usually like 99% of the time refuse to read it out to you. Like you said, they'll give you a summary, right?
Hmm.
But how do you summarize something you don't really know what is in there, right? Like what would you do with a summary? Like what if there's a very key piece of information, usually a person's name or an account number or a telephone number, right, that you're looking for, and these AIs will have very high rates of refusal. With Envision, you don't have that problem, because you could just scan a document as it is, and then our AI understands that you're trying to read the text in it, and it has to give you all the information, so it does that for you versus telling you
Yeah.
it cannot read it for you. And and secondly, I think we are GDPR compliant, which basically means that your data is primarily owned by you, which is and you're just loaning it over to Envision, and you can have it deleted at any point, or you can opt out of like sharing data with us explicitly, right? In fact, users have to explicitly opt in to share data, versus how companies usually do, where you have to opt out. They opt you in by
Yes.
default when you sign up, and then you have to go and specifically say, no, I don't want to share data with you. Here you have to say, I want to share data with you, before we actually do that. So I think
Yes.
those are things that, again, just building for only keeping our focus on the blind and low vision community has helped us build something that I think is valuable in these circumstances.
Definitely. How do you choose new features to work on, and how does user input impact the product?
That's a good question. I think this is every 3 months we have like the favorite, my favorite day of the quarter, or those 3 months is we invite people from all walks of life who use Envision to our office in the Netherlands. Right. And we spend a day or two with them, just showing them the stuff that we are working on and getting feedback. right? In fact, I have a lot of pictures, of this moment where there would be an AI engineer. He'll be sitting with his laptop. There'll be a designer in the room, and then there'll be like a pair of Envision glasses hooked up to like a computer, and a user on the other side, or one of the envisioners coming here to test these features. And then all three of them would just work in this symphony kind of way, where the envisioner would say, hey, no, I think maybe this is too fast for me, I'm not able to make, this doesn't work well for me. And the AI designer and the AI engineer would basically tweak the AI on the fly, and then reload the software, and then run a new version on the glasses. And then the designer would probably give in some inputs on how maybe the user could use this better, or note down issues that happen with the UX around a certain feature, and so on, right? So this loop happens every 3 months with all the new stuff that we are building, all the new stuff that we have built, and new ideas that we have, and so on and so forth, right? And that loop is how we keep ourselves grounded into what people truly want. And of course, people we have a forum, we have our customer support teams, we have people, they can give us feedback directly from within the app itself, right? So there are different ways that we constantly keep collecting feedback. And we do a lot of small in-person meetups throughout the year, where we're just constantly meeting people in real life, showing them, just handing them over a pair of glasses and say, play with this feature, and tell me what you think, right? So that loop of like creating stuff together with people, that's honestly how we've been doing it for 7 years.
So there was some recent news that Orcam, which they sell something a little bit similar, the Orcam My
Yeah,
Eye,
yeah.
that they are no longer going to be selling the Orcam My Eye or anything to do with low vision or blindness, and they're going to change their focus. And so one of the reasons is that I've heard floating around is that there's just not enough, they don't have enough investment and they don't have enough demand. Now I know there's a lot of other ones that we've mentioned on this episode already, like the Ray-Bans and the Amazons and the Apple Vision Pro, all those other products that kind of have a at least similar kind of function. Tell us how Envision is different, and um, if there's any possibility that you would shift your focus away from the blind or low vision market.
So, how Envision's hardware is different from, say, for example, the Orcam, right? I think the biggest difference is the fact that Envision's hardware is not limited to AI that can simply run on the device. So that is a very, very big difference from Orcam. So Orcam and others, other similar devices, primarily was only all about running models or running AI that can fit into that little hardware. And I think one of the things that nobody anticipated in the industry was the rise of these new, GPT style models that have gotten so much more powerful, right? Than what we could have imagined. Like nobody would have thought in November of 2022 that the entire world would change with the introduction of these language models that exist today, right? And in just a span in under 2 years, they've basically gone on to like touch or change the entire AI landscape inside out. And that bet that we made early on, that our hardware is going to be open, it's going to be something that can connect to more powerful models on the internet, on the cloud, right? And we're going to try and make that connection the most secure we possibly can. Those three decisions, I think, basically led to why is the big difference between Envision. So tomorrow you could basically own a pair of Envision glasses, and you can use it, with any, powerful AI that we deploy on the cloud, because we're not really, constrained with how, with whether this particular AI can actually run on the hardware or not, right? The problem with the Orcam device is that they just assumed that AI is going to get smaller and smaller, right? That they just assume that they could take whatever state of the art AI comes out and then just put them onto that small hardware, and people are going to be okay with it. But the reality is that AI is only going to get more powerful, and that was something they didn't account for. So their hardware is fundamentally incapable of connecting to the internet. That was their USP. They said everything is going to be running on this little device that you can connect to your that's a standalone device. But the problem with that is those functionalities that can happen on device, your GPT style model can do something 1,000 times better than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that is the primary reason. I think that's my assumption on why they could have decided to not be in this space anymore, because they have put so much R&D effort into building this particular piece of hardware. Maybe they have a lot of inventory, and then all of a sudden they're seeing that GPT style models have come out, and then there's no way for them to reconcile the two, right? Whereas Envision's hardware is capable of connecting to the internet, and because of that, we are able to run a lot of our really powerful AI models in the cloud, which means that they can just keep getting more powerful and powerful and powerful, and you can use the same hardware and get more and more out of it every year, right? So that
Mm-hmm.
is the big difference between the two. And Envision will not get out of the blind and low vision space. Our aim is not to say, "Oh, we're done with this chapter and it's not meaningful to us anymore." I think there is a lot of work that we can still do in this space. We're still going to be in this space. What we want to do is we want to expand beyond just this space, right? I think a lot of times, we've always felt that the work we do at Envision can have a huge impact on not just the blind and low vision community, but even other vulnerable populations like the elderly, right? That's another space that we're looking at right now, and we're currently working on something that I believe can be a much more general accessibility ally or an accessibility assistant for people. And that's something that will be something that will both blind and low vision people can use, but also maybe people with other disabilities, or people who are elderly can use it as well, right? So that is what we're eventually expanding the product to, but we'll never stop being a company that cares about the blind and low vision space, or says, oh no, there's not enough demand, so we're going to move out of the space. No, that's
Mm.
not in our cards.
I know that you mentioned a little bit about it earlier, but could you tell us about how Envision was founded and why are you doing this? Like what started all of this and why do you continue?
The whole idea for Envision started off in 2016-17. Before I moved to the Netherlands and before we started Envision as a company, me and my co-founder, we went to this blind school in India, which is where we are from, specifically my hometown, Chennai, in India. So we went to this blind school, and we wanted to talk to the kids who are leaving school at that time, just outgoing high school kids, about what it is to be a designer, what it is to be a researcher, what it is to be an engineer, and so on. Just wanted to have a conversation with them, mostly because like the school couldn't afford to get like proper career counselors, so they just got like two guys to come and talk to kids there and say whatever they want to say. Um, so. So, due to budget constraints, they called us in. But nevertheless, we went there, and, I think I told the kids, um, what I mean, what an engineer or a researcher or a designer and all what these people do is we just wake up, we go to work, and we solve problems for a living. You know, like my all my work can just be broken down into a to-do list of problems to solve. Hopefully, at the end of which we'll make something nice. We'll make something meaningful for the world, and that's basically what we do. We just wake up, solve problems, and hopefully something nice comes out of it, or it doesn't. That also happens a lot of times. So, and I just ask these kids, like what kind of problems would they like to solve when they grow up, right? And when you ask kids these questions, especially like high school kids, And I've asked this question before to my nieces and nephews, and they always surprise me with the ambition of the answer, right? It's like, oh, I want to build a city on Mars, or I want to build a robot that has like 1,000 hands, or I want to cure this disease or that disease, or they want to have want to make their dogs talk or whatever. I don't know. They have all these really interesting ideas, these ambitious, bold ideas. That's what high school kids have. But the answers that I got from kids that day were just dramatically different. You know, the answers that I got from kids that day were things like, I want to be able to read a book independently. I wanted to go out independently. I wanted to live by myself. And
Mhm.
it just struck me at that time that a lot of these kids would spend a huge chunk of their lives trying to solve the most basic problems that us sighted folks take for granted, you know? And that began sort of the search for what could be done here, and being researchers and designers, both me and my co-founder, we started to see how the whole AI space was starting to take off in a way where a lot of AI tasks, or a lot of tasks that before, humans were really good at, being able to read something off a page or being able to recognize the face of a person, right? AI was getting really, really good at solving those problems, right? And we realized that if we take AI and apply it to help people who are blind and low vision, we solve two problems at once. One, we don't expect the world to change. The AI doesn't expect you to put like a braille display on everything, or make every bit of the world accessible. Um, of course, we need to work on doing that, but at the same time, AI just accepts the world as it is. You just take a picture of your room and the AI gives you a description. You take a picture of an image, or of a document, sorry, and the AI just reads out the text to you. You don't have to do anything to the document or your room to make it all of a sudden more easier for AI to access it. So AI helps you access the world in your own terms. And it also, led us to see that this capability is only going to increase as the years go by, because,
Mhm.
even from the time we started to observe this in 2012, from, this happened in 2016, the event with the blind, kids, in school, that happened in 2016. And in those 4 years, we already saw AI outperforming humans in so many tasks. And today we're, at a point like just 7 years down the line, we're at a point where we're talking about AI outperforming, you know, humans on every task. We're talking about artificial superintelligence and general intelligence and so on, right? So that was the starting point for Envision. And it was not supposed to be a company in the beginning. It was just supposed to be a project that me and my co-founder worked on. He had his master's thesis that he basically built around Envision, right? The idea. And I was in between jobs. So I thought it would be nice for us to have a fun break from things and then build this app that just takes a picture and then gives you a description, or reads out the text in front of you. But yeah, Destiny had other plans, and the project really took off, and I went into a little bit of credit card debt, but it was totally worth it. You know and we're here 7 years later, and I think we'll be here for another 70 years, hopefully. Yeah.
I know when Envision, the app, first came out, it was a paid app. And then I can't remember when exactly it was, it's now free to use.
Yeah.
And I guess
Yeah.
I wanted to know a little bit about that journey and that decision.
I think when we first started Envision in 2017, we were just two kids, and I moved from India to the Netherlands to start the company because we thought a lot of our customers are going to be here. We had a lot of help from the local organization, so and it didn't make sense for us to kind of build this in India. So I moved to the Netherlands to start this off, and we had to like ask people to pay for the app because one, it felt like a good way to validate what we were building. We didn't want to build something just for the sake of building and putting it out. And two, it was for our survival as a company. So the initial subscribers of Envision kind of really pushed the company from just becoming an idea to being an actual product, right? And somewhere in 2022, from 2017 to 2022, we've built this huge base of customers, and we launched the Envision Glasses, and that was also, really starting to take off. And it kind of struck us that, and when we first launched we had a subscription plan of I think around $7 or $8, and then we cut it down to five, and then we cut it down to two, and then from two, I mean, it just logically made sense for us to not charge at all because the work we had put in those 5 years to make our AI extremely efficient also meant that we the cost of giving that AI to the customer also kept going down, and we just thought it made sense for us to bring that down to a zero. And again, like I mentioned, it goes back to why we started Envision. I know the blind and low vision space sometimes can be challenging, especially for companies that are trying to innovate because the structures are old and we have to work with governmental agencies that tend to be slow, and so on. But we started Envision primarily to bring AI to as many people as possible and just making it free because the cost to run the Envision app for us is quite low, and that is offset by the sales of the glasses. That is basically the reason why we decided to make Envision app free, right? So that it reaches more people use it, and it has a net positive effect on the company on a business level as well, because more people who use Envision on the phone at some point realize that, hey, I'd like to also have a pair of these glasses if I can afford them, and then they go out and get the Envision glasses, and it kind of works as a marketing tool as well. So it keeps all the suits and ties in the company really happy. And for me personally, it's just the fact that so many people use Envision today, and we hear some amazing stories of people using the app to pass an exam or help their kids with their homework. And I think for me that's worth a lot of money. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that's actually a perfect transition. Tell us about the Envision glasses, where people can get it and how much it is.
Sure. So the Envision glasses, start at $1,800, and they go up to $3,500. People can buy a pair of Envision glasses on our website. So that's letsenvision.com, letsenvision.com, and you can also get a free demo of the Envision glasses. So you can just go onto our website, request a free demo, and then one of us from the Envision team will actually give you a demo. If you want an in-person demo, that's also possible because this demo that the Envision team gives you is an online demo. We can also give you an in-person demo. If you want one, we can just put you in touch with a local distributor. We've got distributors across the world, across the US, so we can just go ahead and put you in touch with them as well. And Envision also offers a 30 days, no questions asked return policy and a very detailed onboarding as well once you get a pair of Envision glasses. So you're all sorted once you buy them. You can try them on. You can, take our help to set everything up. And if it still doesn't work out for you, you can just quietly put it in a box and send it away, and then you'll not see it again. So that's basically how it works. And I'd encourage all of your listeners to actually go ahead and request a demo of the Envision glasses, and we'll be more than happy to show you how they work.
Great, yes, and I will leave all the links down below in the description. Now, a question that I've been asking everybody on the podcast is, what do you think contributes to assistive technology being so expensive?
I think the primary reason for that is the hardware being very specialized, right? I think a lot of the hardware that's produced in assistive technology tends to be quite specialized, and because of the numbers that they're being produced in, right, they kind of tend to be more expensive. Um, and of course, that's one part of the problem. The other part of the problem is the fact that it takes so much effort and so much of paperwork to get the product into the hands of the end customer, right? And there's so many hoops that you have to jump through, and every hoop is actually an individual, right? And then you put everything together, you have a sales team that's working for months and months and months to basically get a few, dozen units into the hands of people, right? So the slow process of selling the glasses and the bureaucracy in the industry, plus the fact that the hardware is very specialized and tends to be quite expensive to make at lower volumes, basically is the reason why assistive technology, in my opinion, tends to be expensive, which is the reason why Envision decided to not get into the hardware space, right? So we had the like a lot of our investors and a lot of potential investors that we spoke to, customers, they were like, "Oh, you guys should just take a flight over to China and then stay there for like 2 months and then figure out, a pair of glasses." And when we did the math on that, it was insane. Like, I mean, it would have costed us millions of euros to build our own hardware, and then that would only increase the price of the final product. And another thing that I strongly believed from the very beginning was that smart glasses are going to become very common. I didn't know exactly when, or I didn't know what time frames, what cost, which company is going to do it. But the writing was on the wall even 7 years ago when you actually looked at the smart glasses space, that eventually someone is going to come and make this for less than $500, right? And everyone's going to want to buy those pair of glasses. No one's going to want to buy like a $6,000 or $5,000 unit that they can never upgrade, right? They're going to want something that's cheaper, and that's also the reason why Envision over the years has cut back on our pricing, because we just realized that people, like, as the hardware tends to go more mainstream, someone will come around and buy it. I think we're not there yet. Ray-Ban is a decent start, but again, like the reasons why you mentioned, right, it just is not something that's directly useful for someone who's blind or low vision. That gap is still there, but yeah, it might be too early to speak about this, but I think there are some developments coming in the coming years that will definitely bridge that gap, and I'm really looking forward to that.
So, on that note, what are you most excited about for assistive technology or just accessibility or just technology in general? What's most exciting for you?
I'm actually most excited about AI that's going to get conversational. So it's not like, about you learning how to use the computer. It's the computer learning how to, and communicate with you, right? So that's one two-way conversational AI. It's still not mainstream yet. The world still hasn't really woken up to the possibility of that. Secondly, I think, I'm really excited for AI getting more personal. It's something that I believe, as AI gets more powerful, it's able to learn more about your preferences, your tastes, your things. So you could sit at a restaurant and you could say, "Hey, what do you think I should order?" It knows what your calorie count daily needs to be, or what you told it to be. You told it to avoid sugars, or these kind, or keep it vegan, and it's able to like pick the right kind of stuff and answer those questions for you. And lastly, I think AI is going to be everywhere. It's ubiquitous. You could see, the same AI that you would use on your phone will eventually be on the web, will be on your glasses, and it would be this one seamless companion that you could use in all aspects. And it seems a little science fiction ish, but yeah, you'd be surprised as what's going to come out later this year, at least from Envision. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm there. I'm there. I totally see the same vision. But yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much for joining me today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience?
No, I definitely encourage everyone to go ahead and try the Envision glasses out. I would love for you to go ahead and experience them. So please get a demo of the Envision glasses, and if we're here always to help you answer any questions. So get a demo. Let us know your thoughts, and we'd love to have you as part of the community. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Karthik. That wraps up the interview. Now let's talk about the app first because that's definitely easier. I do like the Envision app. I think there's a lot going for it. One of the features that I really like with the Envision app is the Envision library and how you can easily save different documents, listen to all of them. And the other day I had a 300 plus PDF that I used Envision. I do remember when it was a paid app. I'm glad that it is free now. So if you want to try it out, go ahead and do it since it's completely free. Now let's talk about the glasses. The glasses are not free and they are quite pricey. 1,800 to 3,500 is a lot of money. And while I do acknowledge everything that he said is true about technology. There's still a lot that they could do with the hardware that they have, which is the Google Glass. I still am not very comfortable with it being on a piece of hardware that is dated and that isn't even being sold anymore or supported by Google. I admire that they have done a lot to make the hardware work and make the software work on it. But I think what would be really great is if they used new hardware, maybe when Google comes out with their new wearable, or if it was on the Meta Ray-Bans, that would be really cool. Carrie from the future here, they did announce officially that they are working on an integration for Envision Assistant or Envision Ally with the Meta glasses. I don't just want the AI part of it. I want the OCR, I want the text recognition and all the different modes, because sometimes AI just doesn't cut it, honestly. AI is not enough, especially with the Meta Ray-Bans. They have so much limitations on their AI, and that is incredibly frustrating, but still, it's just a few hundred. I don't just want a piece of tech that is for accessibility. The great thing about the Meta Ray-Bans is I can listen to my music on it. I can interact with messages and notifications and messenger and answer and do all sorts of things that I can't do with just a product that's specifically for accessibility. I want it to be able to do more. That's just me. So I do like what he mentioned about, Envision somehow getting on to different wearables. That I do really want to see. By the time that this video releases, Envision has made its announcement about Ally, which is its new AI personal assistant that's supposed to know you, your habits, your preferences, and be able to recommend things for you. And as of now, I haven't tried it yet. It's very similar to Envision Assistant, which was in beta. That one I did briefly try. You can change its voice, its personality, all different kinds of things. I like that idea of this personal AI, especially one that doesn't have limitations on describing people or reading out documents, things like that. That would be awesome. And I'm hoping to be able to try that out in beta, but I want it again on a piece of hardware that can do more than just accessibility. That's what I want. To me, it sounds like, or maybe I'm hopeful, that they are moving towards that direction. So I'm probably going to wait until then. I've only seen the Envision glasses on YouTube videos, and then I also got a demo, but I've never seen it in person. If you've tried it in person, or maybe you have one, let me know in the comments what you think of it and how well it works. How do you like the new updates with the AI and the things that you can ask it? How powerful is it? That's my question. What can it do? What can it not do? I think what they're doing is really neat and trying to reach more of the market, not just people who are blind or visually impaired, but people with other disabilities and the elderly. And I guess I'm just going to wait and see what actually comes out and what is made available and what it's actually like. As for me, I will definitely continue using the app when I need to. That's it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you like this video and you like this episode, give it a thumbs up below. Give the podcast a rating. Don't forget that you can listen on your Echo devices or on Apple Podcasts. You can't do it on Google Podcasts since Google held that, but you can listen to it on YouTube Music, Pocket Casts, and Spotify. If you'd like to support the channel and my work here, consider becoming a YouTube or Patreon member. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you in the next one.